Welcome back to Verdict Watch. Today, we turn to the United States, where one of the most significant legal battles in the technology sector has reached a decisive moment. In United States versus Google LLC 2023, the U.S. Department of Justice has scored a major victory, with a federal court ruling that Google illegally monopolized the ad technology market. This case is part of a broader global conversation about the power of big tech and marks another serious blow to Google's dominance in the digital economy. The case was filed by the U.S. Department of Justice in the Eastern District of Virginia. At its core, the government alleged that Google engaged in anti-competitive practices in the advertising technology, or ad tech sector. Ad tech may sound technical, but it is the backbone of the internet economy, determining how digital advertisements are bought, sold, and placed across millions of websites worldwide. The legal question before the court was straightforward yet profound. Did Google unlawfully maintain a monopoly in the ad tech sector by tying together its ad server, which publishers use, with its ad exchange, where digital ads are bought and sold? If proven, this would mean Google leveraged its dominance to shut out competitors, control pricing, and stifle innovation across the industry. The Department of Justice argued that Google's conduct was a textbook case of monopolization. By forcing publishers to use its ad server in order to access its exchange, and vice versa, Google effectively locked out rivals. The DOJ maintained that this tying practice inflated costs for advertisers, reduced revenue for publishers, and limited fair competition in the marketplace. The Department of Justice argued that Google's conduct was a textbook case of monopolization. By forcing publishers to use its ad server in order to access its exchange, and vice versa, Google effectively locked out rivals. The DOJ maintained that this tying practice inflated costs for advertisers, reduced revenue for publishers, and limited fair competition in the marketplace. As the trial unfolded, both sides presented vast amounts of evidence, ranging from internal Google communications to expert testimony on the structure of digital markets. The case was closely followed by policymakers, economists, and the global tech industry, all of whom recognized the precedent such a ruling might set. After weeks of deliberation, the U.S. District Court issued its ruling. The court found that Google had indeed abused its dominance by unlawfully tying its ad server to its ad exchange, thereby maintaining an illegal monopoly. This verdict represents one of the most significant antitrust defeats for Google in its corporate history. The verdict sent shockwaves through the tech industry. Supporters of the ruling hailed it as a long-overdue correction of market abuse, arguing that it would open the door for fairer competition and new innovation. Google and its allies, however, voiced deep concern, warning that the decision could create uncertainty and disrupt the digital advertising ecosystem. The ruling is not confined to the United States. Its ripple effects are being felt across the globe. Regulators in Europe, Asia, and other regions are watching the case with intense interest, as many of them are already pursuing their own antitrust investigations into Google, Amazon, Apple, and Meta. The U.S. court's decision adds weight to these global inquiries, potentially strengthening the resolve of international regulators to take stronger and more coordinated action against big tech. For Google, this means the challenge is not limited to one market, but could evolve into a worldwide wave of regulatory scrutiny. Ultimately, this landmark ruling may serve as a catalyst, inspiring regulators elsewhere to adopt tougher measures and set new precedents in the fight to curb the dominance of powerful digital platforms. For Google, this defeat is far more than just a symbolic loss. The ruling strikes at the very foundation of its dominance in the digital advertising ecosystem. The company may now be forced to divest or restructure significant portions of its ad tech business, potentially dismantling the tightly integrated model that has allowed it to control nearly every layer of online advertising. Such a move would not only weaken its ability to dictate terms to publishers and advertisers, but could also open the door for competitors to gain ground in a space long dominated by Google's influence. In the long run, this could fundamentally alter the dynamics of the ad tech market and reshape how digital advertising revenue flows across the internet. This case raises broader questions about the role of antitrust law in the digital age. Should governments intervene more aggressively to regulate powerful technology platforms? Can fair competition coexist with efficiency and scale in global markets? These are debates that will shape not only the future of Google, but also the trajectory of the internet economy itself. The U.S. District Court's ruling in United States versus Google LLC represents a defining moment in modern antitrust enforcement. Whether it becomes a turning point for fairer digital markets or simply the beginning of another prolonged legal struggle, one thing is certain: the power of big tech is now under greater scrutiny than ever before. This was Verdict Watch, bringing you the cases that shape our world. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for our next deep dive into the verdicts that define our times.